things that make you a far-right extremist. And as we all know, there's no group of people better suited to describe the characteristics of white nationalism than white nationalists. So let's have fun. Let me know how the audio sounds.
What?
The future... I like this because I can... Don't spam in the fucking chat like that. Why would you do that, expert marksman? Don't do that shit. Cut it out. I like this. We actually have something objectionable before the first word is spoken in this video. The future is the past. Now, that can mean a lot of things, but I urge you to, I guess, reminisce or to pontificate what that might mean in relation to a white nationalist channel. What in the past are they looking to bring into the future? Apartheid? Slavery? I don't know. Like traditionalist gender and social roles? Probably. Huh?
What is an extremist? You probably had a picture in your head the moment I said that. And for many, it was probably one put in your head by the media.
So, right off the bat, what is an extremist? You probably have an idea in your head, and it was probably put there by the media. So, the immediate aim of this video, the point being put forward by this, I suppose, this vampire? I suppose. The point being put forward is that whatever you think, you can't trust the media. Whatever image you may have in your head, it's probably been put there by your elites. Don't trust them. And of course, you could tie this into the Jewish question, what have you. Oh, what do you think of when you think of an extremist? Ah, well, of course, the Jewry have put this image in your head. I don't actually know if this channel goes full Jewish question, but it's statistically likely, so...
So what is the quality or state of being extreme? Well, it all depends on who you ask.
So, again, here, wait. I'm going to up the video's noise just slightly. Beep, 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 beep. There we go. So, being a political extremist is not the same as being extreme. Extreme is an incredibly relativistic adjective that can describe literally anything. And usually when extreme is used as an adjective, it's done so facetiously or as a matter of hyperbole. To be a political extremist, like these two... You can't break a big word, like a Kit Kat, into the two smaller words it's a part of, and then assign a collective definition based on the definition of the smaller components.
If you ask me, a man cutting off his genitals, for instance, that's extreme.
So that's cute right there. A man cutting off his genitals is extreme. So, I mean, that's not an argument right there. That's just transphobia, obviously, the do-do-do. I mean, I could say a million things. Not a he, it's a she. Not cutting off, actually an incredibly complex and almost near miraculous medical procedure that inverts the penis. But none of that matters. Because the goal of the video, the goal of that little jab there, it's to incite disgust. You know? See, something that I think is extreme is, in spite of all of the progress we've made over the past 50, 60, 70 years, plunging the world into war, apartheid, genocide, and deportation, just so people who have a poor understanding of racial science can bring about a vision of America that never actually really existed, a white utopia. I think that's a little bit extreme, personally. The difference being that this whole cutting off the penis thing, if that's how you want to describe it, is accepted by the medical and scientific community to be a valid treatment for gender dysphoria, whereas white nationalism is not, to my knowledge, a medically recommended solution to anything. They're going to be coming hard and fast in this video, so we gotta keep our eyes open.
A person who hates their own nation and wants to replace their own people with foreigners.
Hates their own nation, wants to replace their own people with foreigners. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with hating your own nation. What if you disagree with its policies? I don't think that's necessarily extreme. Would the people who made this video be in favor of all the globalist, like global trade immigration policies that have been made by America over the past 60 years? Probably not. You might hate America even from their perspective if you're willing to extrapolate like America means the American government. Now, if you hate the people of your country, I might agree. That might be a little bit extreme. It's a good thing I don't hate the people of my country. And then replace your people with immigrants. Nobody wakes up one day and thinks, yes, I will further the marginalization of white people by bringing in brown people. Nobody thinks that. This is a dogma. This is a framework imposed on the world by the white nationalist. Nobody else thinks this way.
That is also extreme. But if you ask a communist,
these people are communists.
Anyone who opposes whatever they want is an extremist.
No, there are plenty of people who disagree with me who aren't extremists.
This pejorative word extremist is pretty new and mostly used.
No. Political extremism as a concept is not new, and it is not used as a pejorative. I describe myself as a political extremist because my political values fall well outside the acceptable range of discourse in America. So I accept that label. I think it accurately describes many of my positions. I don't think it's a pejorative at all. These triggered fascists, you know? They just looking to take offense at these common everyday words.
Used to describe political matters, almost always used to attack one group, white people.
No, that's not even remotely true. BLM have been called extremists for pretty much the entirety of their advocacy. Basically, anything that falls outside acceptable range of discourse is called extremist by the mainstream like news associations. And seeing as how this channel is run by fascists, they would probably fit within that purview. But so would I. I suppose I'm white too, but I don't think if I was called an extremist, it would be done because I'm white. Also, I think we actually rather call brown Muslim people extremists quite often. I think that's a thing we do pretty frequently. I should step back for a second. The point of this is these videos are very effective propaganda pieces. They really are. They disseminate a whole bunch of misinformation very quickly and in ways that can't be immediately refuted. Like the, I think cutting your penis off is pretty extreme thing. Not only was that not related to the central point of this video, which is to say whether or not you're a far-right extremist based on certain political affiliations you might hold, that's the entirety of this video. It's going to be loaded and leading questions, which is good propaganda. I mean, you know, congrats to the people who wrote out this script and planned the video and made the world worse as a result. So my goal in going into this is to, and I'm going to be real calm about it too, because this isn't like listening to some dumb fuck like Sargon of Akkad espouse his opinions and in spite of all, you know, common sense. This is a very calculated, planned effort by Nazis to turn non-Nazis into Nazis. And to rage against that process, well, you're capitulating to them, in a sense. So.
In fact, I think this word was created simply for that purpose.
It wasn't. That's, I suppose, your feeling in this respect? No. The term extremist was not created to describe white people. I like the conflation there too. She found a description that said right-wing extremists, but earlier she said white people. So the subtle sort of conflation of whiteness and right-wingness. I'm white, I'm not right-wing. That's your disease, my dude. I don't have it.
Could we all agree that blowing up a building or hijacking a plane is extremist?
Yes, we can. I like the clown honks too. It's yeah. Hope we've all seen my content on Honk Honk and Clown World and stuff, so we all know what they're doing there.
Actually, we can't. Just ask open communist and retired professor Bill Ayers, founder of the Weatherman, a faction of Students for a Democratic Society, who carried out a campaign of bombings in the 70s against U.S. government institutions.
Oh, okay. So the Weatherman group back during the 70s is not the same thing as what he's doing now. They bring up the terrorist group, whose views I support, by the way. They bring up the terrorist group in association with this guy because they have like a namesake unity, but it's to undermine his legitimacy.
Yes, he's an actual terrorist who brags about it, never spent time in jail, writes articles for mainstream media, and worked in education reform.
Education reform. He did work in education reform. That's actually what he does. It's not, unless you think it's like the Jews. But no, he actually does do them. And the reason he didn't spend any time in jail is because he wasn't convicted of any crimes. Do you think the people who made this video, do you think the American government like doesn't go hard on left-wing terrorists? Do you think that the US government is like, oh yeah, he just blew up a couple of government buildings. Oh, but he's left-wing. Well, we only have it out for right-wingers, so we're going to let him go. Do you think there might be a reason why he wasn't convicted on any charges? Because people like to make a lot of shit up about like the Weatherman group. So I'm just curious. I invite you to ponder why that might be, if not Jewish conspiracy.
He's also friends with Hillary and Obama.
Two well-known far-left extremists who corroborate with communist terrorist cells.
And whines about far.
He actually has spent time in jail for protesting segregation. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, there we go. That is a crime to an extent. But he never spent time in jail for terrorism. If he had, I doubt he would have, I doubt he'd be out today.
Far right-wing terrorism. He claims that left-wing terrorism doesn't even exist. We never, ever hear about far-left extremism and terrorism because unhinged, radical lefty terrorists are in charge.
Okay, that's cool. So, for one, the idea that far-left people are in charge is ludicrous fantasy, and anyone who believes this is delusional. The people who are in charge of the system, whether that be politics or education or academia or the economy, these people are the same people that have always been in charge, at least for the past 2 centuries, which is fairly center-leaning extreme capitalists who support the monetary system that sort of sustains this country. That's it. There's far left people are in charge. Talk about a self-victimization right there. I thought that these folks always complained about black people making victims of themselves, but goddamn, they're penchant for just being little bitch babies. Why people don't want to deport all brown people and make America a white ethno-state? It must be because of this far left political bias that we see in the media. Secondly, when he says there's no far left terrorism in America, he's right. Go look at the stats. Sure, we talk a lot of shit, but when it comes to actually engaging in acts of terror, the far right extremism sure does. Whew, well, you guys outclass us in that respect. Barely a couple months goes by without a far right inspired shooting or bombing or what have you in this country. We can't. I'm sorry, we suck. We can't keep up with those numbers. It's true. We just don't have that problem with left-wing terrorism.
Yet article after lying article is published on the threats and fears of far-right extremism, the most deadly of all things.
It is, according to the stats, and she says lying articles, but I'm interested to know why she thinks they're dishonest. Has she engaged with the methodology? Maybe she's found like a statistical error, like maybe a conflation or a confounding variable that wasn't found. Or maybe she just doesn't like what they're saying, so she tells herself they're liars.
Today, though, any white or even questionable white-looking man who commits some kind of a crime or attack is called a far-right extremist.
That is super duper not true. only if you fuckers leave around a manifesto or indicate with a high degree of probability that you committed that terrorist action for reasons related to your far-right ideology. It has nothing to do with you being white. If I went out there and committed a terrorist act, not that I ever would. If I went out there and, I don't know, bombed the Fed or something, not that I ever would. Ever, hypothetically, in a video game. But if that happened in Minecraft, and I die in the attack, of course, when they go over my sort of history online, they are probably not going to look at me, a far-left anarcho-syndicalist, and think, ah, yes, another far right-wing terrorist attack committed by a Trump-supporting, extreme patriarchal white male. Now we send his family to the feminist gulags. I don't think this would happen. In truth, the reason why these white men, or white-looking men, who commit terrorist attacks or shootings or what have you, get labeled far-right, is because they're far-right. There's going to be a lot of dismissive hand-waving in this video, you know? There's going to be a lot of like, oh, the lying media says, or oh, these stats say, but, you know, you can't just say they're wrong. You have to actually contest the data.
Cambridge says an extremist is someone having beliefs that most people think are unreasonable and unacceptable.
Yeah, like me.
Well, guess what? If all your ancestors were alive today, they'd say that the majority of modern-day politics is insane, the extreme opposite of what they all believed.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what it has to do with anything, but that's true. I don't want to live my life under the shadow of the social values of a peasant farmer 400 years ago, though. I mean, do you? I mean, the only reason this dumb bitch right here is able to espouse her fascist propaganda is because there's a certain degree of woman's liberation that have afforded her this level of social credence. You go back far enough and nobody would take the word of a woman seriously, even if it was reaffirming their own political views. Depending on the culture you're in, of course. Different cultures, different levels of acceptability concerning women's advocacy.
And this applies for all races. What was considered basic common...
For all races? Ooh, races? What does this have to do with races? She keeps trying to make this like a white people thing. There can be black far-right extremists. I've shit on them in this channel. And there are white non-far-right extremists like me. Race seems like a weird framework to push here unless you're trying to self-victimize and, I guess, act like a crybaby? Which, if that's your kink...
Common sense, understood by most of the world, and definitely in the West until just recently, is now labeled radical far-right extremism.
So, things understood in most of the world, including the West, up until recently, are now considered far-right extremism. Yes. Like slavery, and racial segregation, and apartheid, and lynchings. Yeah. Good. Yes, the world has gotten better. Wow. Imagine believing that was a point. And hundreds of years ago, people from that time would think you were crazy for not hating black people. Boom, got him. By the way, to take a brief break from these stupid ass points, and we haven't even gotten to the things that make you a far right extremist yet, but to move away from these points for just a second, just remember, anytime you're like watching a video on politics and how people used to understand a thing, but nowadays they don't, they would call this extremist, and it's played over like a picture of a bunch of generically attractive white people in conservative clothing playing around in an open field. Now we know it's Nazis. So now we know. Thank you for letting us know. This isn't even a dog whistle. This is just what Nazis do. At least to me, putting the white people in conservative clothing dancing around in the field while talking about like the state of Western society. This is as much a Nazi thing as just waving a swastika around in your video. It's about as subtle to me. So I now know for a fact that down the line in this video, we will have irrefutable proof of anti-Semitism. Not just white supremacy, but also JQ stuff. Though it's already been alluded to pretty hard, but I bet you it'll get worse.
Why? Because neo-communists control the media. And
neo-communists control the media. First off, what is a neo-communist? For two, I know who control the media. They're all capitalists. That's why they make billions and billions of dollars keeping up a 24-hour news cycle whose only a sense of obligation to anything, really, is to their shareholders, not to the public, which is why they run the same dumb fear-mongering stories that guarantee hits, that give them the money, and so on and so forth. Neo-communists. I wonder if she could substantiate that claim.
in reality, we live in a day of radical leftist extremism.
And of course, we have the drag queen storytime thing, the thing that triggered all the righties. Oh, a person dressed up all flamboyant and talked with children. Woe is Western society.
Pushed as something completely normal, in attempts to destroy and upset a natural order that has existed since the beginning of time.
So here's where I get to come out of my shell a little bit. Natural order. If you unironically believe that the naturalistic fallacy, the idea that we can prescribe moral oughts, prescriptive judgments from how things naturally are or were, you're a fucking idiot. You're really stupid. That's an incredibly stupid philosophical. It's literally a fallacy, and everyone makes fun of it. Everyone is making fun of you right now. If you believe in the naturalistic, because we did a thing, that means it's right to do a thing, you're an idiot, and everyone laughs at you behind your back. And I do hope you shit in the woods, and I do hope you wipe your ass with leaves, and I do hope that instead of having consensual sex with a partner of your choosing, you actually rape whoever you think would best fit your seed, and then run away as quickly as possible to achieve a sort of enlightened, if you are a man, of course, a hyper-masculine reproductive strategy. Because if you don't do these things, if you take part in modern conveniences, like, say, uploading YouTube videos, you are distancing yourself tremendously from the natural order of things, one in which we're subjected to natural hierarchies and slaves to finding a place to sleep, finding things to eat, finding clean water to drink, mitigating diseases that ravage our bodies until we die at 40 years old. You don't care about the natural order. You're just racist. That's it. You just don't like brown people. And that's fine. We can talk about that, but that's your value. It has nothing to do with maintaining a natural order. Because, and historians and anthropologists know this, if you look throughout history, there are actually dozens or even hundreds of examples of powerful civilizations having understandings of race which are completely different from my own. The example that I like to give is in Rome. In Rome, there were essentially two races of people, and they were treated comparably to how we, or at least how racist people, treat race today. Which is to say, you are either a Roman citizen or a barbarian. If you're a Roman citizen, it doesn't matter if you're milky white or obsidian black. And if you're a barbarian, it didn't matter either. You were a Roman citizen or you were a barbarian. And differences in skin color and other, entirely phenotypical, superficial racial differences, well, they were about as important to them as eye color is to us. And we don't really treat people in a different racial sense based off our eye color, do we? No, of course not. So this was a lie, what this person just pushed right here. The goal of this section is to make it sound like we've lost some ancestral truth. That the truth is white people are superior and different races of people should be segregated into different societies to maximize the self-interest of their, relative constituent demographics. And that intermixing, like race mixing or cultures that unify different races, these things are degenerate because they ruin both the cultural and the genetic makeup of both groups, making the world worse for everyone. These things are all false, of course. There's no historical, anthropological, scientific, or psychological evidence to suggest any of it. Biologists and epigenealogists have epigenetics. So epigeneticists, we made it there, have refuted all of this. It's all nonsense. It really is. It's just lies. It's feelings. You feel about this very strongly. To the people who like this video, it's your feelings. And I'm more of a facts guy. I'm sorry. I like facts. If you think that the Negroid and Caucasoid skulls have different dents that allow them to think in different ways, if you think that there's some biological basis to people of different races conflicting with one another, then I encourage you to send me the evidence, because so far there doesn't seem to be any. It's one of the most well-researched subjects in the history of the human civilization, human race. And no one's come up with any conclusive evidence. So I encourage you, try.
The left has shifted the dialogue so extremely far into their own insanity that any sort of basic norm.
So this is cute. Again, this is whoa! What are you doing there? So this is some fun boomer logic right here. All far-right extremists are just perfectly natural, normal, healthy white people who want to live a nice life, and normal people scream naked. This is obviously nonsense. I mean, even the people who really bite into the who drink the Kool-Aid of this video, you obviously know this isn't the case. You know this isn't the case. In fact, far-right extremism is correlated pretty heavily with lower education and with lower socioeconomic status, which is itself correlated to things like higher crime or more unstable families. This is, again, proven. This is a scientific fact, or sociological fact, which uses the scientific method. So, again, a scientific fact. Whereas normal people, if that's what you want to call them, do not typically run around naked screaming. It doesn't happen that often. So, not an argument, I'm sad to say.
Policy is deemed far-right extremism. In truth, boys and girls, your grandparents and everyone before them all used to think like me. They weren't soy-eating liberals calling for open borders.
So this is another fun fallacy right here. Because people of past generations believed a thing, we should believe that thing. Okay. No. Can you substantiate that claim? People of the past believed a lot of really stupid shit. In the medical field, in the social field. I mean, you would probably agree with bringing back segregation, apartheid, white supremacy, and stuff. So I'll leave that aside. But even if you think that's a good idea, the idea that, every good idea comes from, this traditional ancestral knowledge, I mean, can you substantiate that? Because in terms of human development, things seem to be getting better, not economically, thank you capitalism, but in terms of ability for different groups of people to cohabitate, integration, people seamlessly working together to form intricate global and local communities, all of this is developing. It's getting better. We're getting better. So again, it's not an argument because your grandparents liked something that you must like something. And also, a pointed fact, my grandparents, actually it would have been my great-grandparents because I'm rather young, my great-grandparents fought against fascism. My great-grandparents were taught to believe that the American values of egalitarianism, that we're all equal under God, were being threatened by the encroach of barbaric Nazism. And so they fought, and this is true, and they went over into Western Europe, and they killed in droves people who believe the things that you believe. I think it's fair to say you share a lot of your values with the Nazi Party. So, yeah, that's what I don't know what your family was up to. Maybe they were guarding the camps. But my good old family, fresh immigrants into the United States of America, exercised their beliefs in the American values of liberty and fraternity and equality by slaughtering people like you. So I'm not entirely sure, where you're getting this, our grandparents believed the things you believe, set of values.
You may think you're beyond the left-right paradigm or that you swing on different issues, but it doesn't work that way anymore. Because if you don't agree with everything the left wants, you are a far-right extremist. And for me, I could care less what a bunch of lefties think about me.
I'm going to ignore the constant conflation between leftist and liberal here, even though doing so indicates tremendous ignorance. But no, I interact with plenty of people who disagree with me, and I don't think they're all far-right extremists. Shoe on Head is somebody with whom I probably have a myriad of social and economic and political disagreements. Not as many as I would have had 2 years ago still, but I would call her a friend. I don't call her a far-right extremist. I don't even think she's a far-right extremist. Maybe we're a little bit more tolerant than you would like to think, fascist white lady. Maybe we're more capable of accepting one another than you would like to believe. It's possible. Maybe. I couldn't tell you.
Not pleasing them is doing the right thing. So, if you say yes to any of the following, you might be a super duper radical far-right extremist and put on a terrorist list by the FBI.
Okay, so this is a conflation here again. Does this person sincerely believe that the FBI is run by far-left extremists? If you're that far down the conspiracy hole, if that's really how rotted your brain is, that you think the FBI, literally like the domestic enemy of leftism, the group of people that have probably done more to suppress local domestic leftist movements than any other organization in the history of humanity, if you think they're being controlled by the far left, then you might be operating on a level of either deliberate insincerity or actual insanity. You might be too far gone for me to talk to you. And if that's the case, then you're too radicalized. There's nothing to be said to or with or about you. One day you'll either die, thank God, or you'll shoot up other people, and hopefully when the day comes, we'll shoot you first. Like that. That's how far gone you are. You can't be spoken to. But to those of you who don't believe that, who maybe on second thought think, maybe the organization that launched COINTELPRO, a series of clandestine, illegal domestic operations to suppress black nationalism and black advocacy movements in the United States that assassinated left-leaning leaders, maybe they're not left-leaning. If you can do that for me, then maybe we can talk.
Do you see that men and women are biologically different? Do you say there are...
Whoa, we're coming at him fast. Just a single sentence per? Oh, Jesus, we're going to have to... Oh, man. We're going to have to... Oh, God.
Do you see that men and women are biologically different?
So, men and women can mean two different things. If you mean in the sex sense, and everything I'm about to say, by the way, everything that I'm about to say is literally medical consensus. So, and I'm going to be saying very milquetoast things. Nothing that I'd say right now will be even remotely questioned in any academic institution. So if you disagree with me, those are your feelings, not facts, not science or biology. So, man and woman, this can refer to sex, or it can refer to gender. If you're talking about sex, yes, of course, there are differences between men and women. Pretty substantial ones at least in terms of physical composition and their role in the reproductive process, then yeah, nobody disagrees with that. If you're talking about gender, then gender isn't really intrinsically tied to one's physical, well, anything, because gender is a social construct. Again, these are facts. If you don't like them, I'm sorry, but feel free to present your research at an academic conference sometime, okay? Gender doesn't refer to anything biological. It's just a mode of self-expression. So while I am, and while I look like a man, I could conceivably, this is quite unlikely, I'm pretty confident in my masculinity here, but I could conceivably wake up one day, realize my entire life was a lie, and that I am actually a trans woman, in which case I would be physiologically identical to how I am right now, but I would be, as long as my feelings were authentic, and we're going to assume for the case of this example that they are, authentically a woman. So, a little bit of a conflation there, but that's okay. I don't expect people like this to really understand the nuances of gendered science.
Do you say there are only 2 genders, not 57?
And it should go without saying, by the way, that everything she's about to say, well, I shouldn't actually say everything. In fact, I'll do it point by point. With the biological differences thing, if you disagree with me in that respect, it doesn't make you a far right extremist, okay? You're good. You're maybe a little bit misinformed, but you're good. So with this one, nobody is saying that there are definitely 57 genders. That 57 gender thing is a nice meme right-leaning people like to throw about because policy introduced, and what was it? New York was a little bit ham-fisted with its terminology. Nobody's really saying that. What people are saying is that gender is a social construct. That means there could be two genders. There are here in America, but there are other cultures that have more than two genders, so there aren't intrinsically two genders, you see. There are here, those are the categories we've built up here, but it's not intrinsic. We didn't discover gender. We didn't find it carved out into a hieroglyphic, tablet or a plinth 400 years ago. We just decided these are categories we built, social constructs. Like, for example, race. But if you're a fan of this video, I can't imagine you would support that view either. Again, disagreeing with this doesn't make you a white nationalist. Congratulations. Or far-right extremist, sorry.
Like to work out and stay fit? Are you a...
Wait, that was it? No, you're fine if you work out and stay fit. Wait, what was that? Was that really what I thought it was? She goes by so quickly. Gym bros more likely to be right-wing assholes. So... this is how you can tell that this woman isn't really interested in like facts, for example, because a single article demonstrating what is probably a factual relationship between being a gym bro and being a right-wing asshole, however they decide to define those terms in the literature, that the existence of that relationship does not mean that the entire world will call you a far-right nationalist or extremist or what have you for working out. What's with the constant victimization narrative? Why all the crying? Why are you so desperate to feel like you're like a victim, like you're being oppressed? Why? It's such a weird narrative. You see one article on what is this? I can't tell what website this is from the font or from the layout of the subheading. But you see one article and you just think like, now they're saying now even exercise makes you right wing. The leftists, those soy chugging, obese but also skinny fat, neck bearded but also effeminate and clean shaven leftists. They're taking everything I love from the West. Silly, obviously, but if it's silly, maybe she shouldn't say it.
Out and stay fit? Are you a man who's unapologetically masculine? If you...
Well, I imagine if I try to make the point here that all the right-leaning people who view the video are going to say, ha, you think you're masculine? In spite of me being like large and physically strong and hairy and deep-voiced and well-hung and so on and so forth. But I imagine to you I am a soy boy. So I'll say, to elucidate the point for you, no, being masculine does not make you a far-right extremist. Just to let you know. It's okay. I've been told I'm pretty masculine, and nobody's called me one.
You hate soy products.
Nope, hating soy products. Man, I probably shouldn't waste so much time with each of these points, because why should I put effort in if she doesn't? No, doesn't make you a far-right extremist. Oh, gotta get the meme in
if
there.
If you eat meat.
Give your meat a good old rub. That's it. Yeah, boy.
Are you...
This is a very strange mix of like high-quality professional editing and like meme baiting, you know? It's an interesting mix. I bet it appeals to the audience they're trying to get to. No, eating meat doesn't make you a far-right extremist.
A woman who enjoys looking soft and feminine and wants to be pretty for men? Do you laugh at dumb...
That also doesn't make you a far-right extremist. Go right ahead if you want to be soft and pretty for men. You know, I've spent a lot of time on the internet. I've never in my life seen a woman say, I want to be soft and pretty so I'm like cute to guys. And somebody then say, fuck you, fascist. I've never actually seen that.
dumb things feminists do and say.
We need to kill all men.
So this is going to be, I think, a cute little ensemble here. I guess the leading punchline is going to be that we can justify our feelings of victimization because I have compiled a series of clips of feminists or black people. I don't know what the clips are going to contain. I never watched these videos beforehand. We have compiled a series of clips of people saying stupid things that make you want to hate them, so you will hate them and you will go further into the right. The reality, and this may shock you, there are pretty dumb people everywhere. And that if you want to decide whether or not you're a member of like an oppressed group or whether or not you're at war, you probably shouldn't do it by watching a YouTube video where somebody has clipped together a bunch of random people saying random things you don't like. I go with data because, and again, not to like upset you or anything, but if I were to really take the time, and I would hate doing this because I hate editing, but if I were really to take the time of finding far-right extremists, you know, like the kind of people that made this video, clips of them saying horrid things about black people or Jews or trans people, I could probably fill up enough clips to make, I'm not entirely sure what the longest YouTube video can be. I don't know how long they let you make it, but I'm pretty sure I could exceed it. It could literally just be an eternal marathon of clips of far-right extremists saying objectionable things about minorities. And then I could watch that, and I could think, unlike you correctly, that we have a bit of a social problem here. If you're interested in feeling like an oppressed minority or to validate your feelings of victimization, I encourage you, go to data, because this isn't data. And that glorious white brain descended from the founding fathers and the heroes of the Enlightenment and the Teutonic Aryan Ubermensch who have an IQ of 2000. You're not using it when you just buy into these stupid bait clips.
I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just subjugate me. Kill male babies, kill any man that you see, like in the streets, like any swinging just kill him.
Have this hair.
Oh, wait, it's just the one clip? That's really the best she could do? It was a single clip of one woman saying something objectionable? Ah, ooh. Ah, yikes. Ooh. Ah, man. If I were trying to do a propaganda piece, I'd put a little bit more effort into it.
Haircut. Wear braids.
Nope, haircut doesn't make you... Can I just say Nazi instead of far-right extremist? Can we just go fascist? How about fascist? Because fascist, that's a far-right extremist. Nope, that haircut doesn't make you a fascist. People call it a fasci haircut. Doesn't make you a fascist. Yo.
Speaking of Nazis, are you interested in debating anyone? There's just a fucking idiot in YouTube chat.
There's an idiot in YouTube chat?
He says he wants to
I do love debate.
talk to you about Nazi stuff. Like, he wants to try to convince you to be alt-right.
Ooh. Hey, listen, little alt-righter in YouTube chat. Wait for me to finish this video, and then you can hop right on, okay?
Should I, like, give him the Discord?
Yeah, why not? No, having braided hair doesn't make you a fascist.
Do you want a lot of European babies? Oppose the mass murdering.
Whoa, wait. Hold on. Wait, hold on. If you're a white person or a European person, and you are with a European partner, and you both want to have babies that are European, I don't think that's fasci or racist at all. If you're specifically thinking, yes, I want to have babies, and they must be European, yes. Yes, for the first time in this video, yes. I would say that, yeah, that's pretty fucking racist. And it doesn't make you a far-right extremist. There are other conditions that need to be met there, but I'd say that's, on its own, pretty objectionable.
Ideology of communism? Do you laugh when someone starts talking about Karl Marx?
Being anti-communist doesn't make you a far-right extremist. It really doesn't. I know you want to feel oppressed. I know you want to feel like the whole world is controlled by... We haven't gotten to the Jewish part yet, but I know you want to feel like you're being subjugated by a conspiracy of far-left cultural neo-Marxist, what have you. I'm sorry, those are just your feelings. I'm gonna need some data. I've yet to see any.
If you oppose full-on open borders.
I like this. I like this. So apparently, what does that say? Viva Jet? Would it be Tej Aviv? I'm not entirely sure. So this is cool. So I was going to say opposing full-on open borders doesn't make you a fascist, or Tel Aviv. Gotcha. Then why does it have the serif at the back of the L? That's weird. I was going to say that doesn't make you a fascist. However, if your view of having open borders is this, if this is what you imagine, excuse me. Yeah, that's a little fashy. You got me. Yeah, posing immigrants as like an army of dirty brown people that look all like threatening, and they're not even wearing much clothing, and they're storming into them. Yeah, it's a little fashy. Oh yeah, Tel Aviv. I see. Ah, yes. See the whole world is coming out.
Don't trust the government? Yeah, extremists.
So I don't trust the government either, but there's a difference between not trusting the government and outright doubting like statistically verified information because it doesn't conform to your conspiratorial worldview. There's a really big difference between those two things. I don't trust the government. When the government said we want to provide humanitarian aid to Venezuela, I didn't trust that. When a government study publishes a comprehensive sociological study, or a government research team posts a comprehensive sociological study of like a social issue, I do believe that because I can see the numbers right there, unless you think they were like fudging all of it, but that's why we have peer review and review committees and ethics boards so there's a difference between not trusting the government and denying inconvenient factual evidence.
Do you understand that people actually do conspire, plot, and plan in secret?
Okay, so that's a little neat right there. You're a far-right extremist if you don't believe, or if you believe people plot in secret, and then we have Freemason shit with like a menorah. Okay. Yeah. People do plot in secret. That happens. Conspiracy theories are stupid. And if you believe in them, you're stupid. Being a conspiracy theorist doesn't make you skeptical. It makes you the opposite. Your brain is a trash heap where any information can leap on in and root it in your brain, as long as it conforms to the values you've already taken in. Doesn't make you skeptical. You're not open-minded. You're not smarter. You don't have a more broad perspective. You aren't able to see past the lies everyone else can't see. You're just sort of enabling stupidity and poor critical thinking. And that's not a great way to use the glorious Aryan brain that your ancestors, bestowed upon you through your birth, right? Probably not, no.
Are you against ethnic and cultural genocide and the replacement of a native people in their own country?
No, I'm totally against genocide of any sort. That's why I don't like what China is doing. That's why I don't like what Japan has done. That's why I don't like what Israel's doing. I know they'll agree with me on that for different reasons. That's why I don't like what America does.
Including white people?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I don't like it when it happens to white people either. It just isn't happening to white people. Yeah, believing that white people are a victim of a genocide right now, or like the soft genocide of demographic replacement. Yeah, that would make you a far right extremist because it's stupid and it's not based in reality. It's It's very dumb. It's very small brain, very low IQ, very disappointing for an Aryan superwoman such as this to present me such a stupid thesis. But yeah, if white people were actually being like genocided or displaced or what have you, yeah, I'd totally be against that. White people are people.
If you think races are biologically different, do you celebrate
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, no, that would make you pretty far right. Yeah, this has been disproven.
Yule?
I'm sorry. Facts don't care about your feelings. I know you're really tied to like the race IQ, the race realist shit. It's just not true. You believe it because it makes you feel like you have like a greater identity that you're a part of, you know? You don't. You're alone in this world. And what's more, you're cripplingly stupid. So work on that, okay? Maybe familiarize yourself with any of the hundreds or maybe even thousands of studies done on race and genetic differences.
Austera and other ancient European traditions?
Wait, what is this?
Do you celebrate Yule, Austera, and other ancient European traditions?
Yule Austera? I assume this is some like pagan, like Norse horseshit. No, you can do that if you want, though religion's pretty dumb one way or another. But yeah, there are a lot of weird fucking fasci Nazis that go for this Norse shit. Like, for example, the Nazis. They also went for that weird Norse shit. So there's a bit of a relationship, yeah.
If you talk about Norse gods and goddesses or anything pagan.
No. Wait, were you kidding? The most recent God of War game was great. What are you saying? I'd say all the developers of that game are racist because they're far-right extremists because they talk about that shit? What? No. Get out of here. Norse mythology got some sick headcanon going on, okay? Unquestionably.
Do you like camping, nature, and hiking?
So I want to focus on this right here. So what the woman here is trying to say is that if you like... So the left is so extreme that if you like camping or hiking or the outdoors, they'll label you a far-right extremist. I live in Humboldt. I live in Northern California in the Pacific Northwest, okay? There are tons of outdoorsy people here. They're fucking hippies. I hate them, okay? But they're not far-right extremists. So let's go over these three very scary... They put the scary music behind it. By the way, if you fall for this, the scary music and this like editing trick shit, and it makes you get all emotional, you're weak. It's a form of weakness. You're letting yourself succumb to some very bad logic. So let's go over this, huh? The unbearable whiteness of hiking and how to solve it. You probably can't see that with my camera in the way. That's the bottom right article title. This has nothing to do with far-right extremism at all. It's probably one in a series of thousands of articles where people complain how white people have ruined a given subculture, which they do, to be fair. So that's irrelevant. I don't know why she put that there. Revealed. Shocking footage shows German children attending Nazi youth camp in Sweden. I have no idea what this has to do with left-leaning people calling you a far-right extremist if you like going outdoors. This is a specific article about a specific camp which is described specifically as a Nazi youth camp. This isn't just people going outdoors, and going outdoors isn't the reason why this was called a Nazi youth camp. It was probably called a Nazi youth camp because it was a Nazi youth camp. You see, it's not the outdoors part, it's the Nazi part. If they had had their Nazi youth camp indoors in, say, a gymnasium at a high school, people would still call it a Nazi youth camp, not they would see it and see the swastikas or what have you, and they would think, oh, well, it's not outdoors, so bad logic there. What?
The top left one is a Breitbart article.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I can tell Breitbart font very easily.
Yeah, it was
So... Right, the top left here is a Breitbart article, which means that it's already wrong. Breitbart is not news. Breitbart is an op editorial site. They have no journalistic integrity, no standards. They frequently post lies. They editorialize the shit out of everything they say. So anything with this font up here in the top left, already wrong. But we can look at it here. Countryside dwelling, environmentally friendly families are right-wing extremists, researchers warn. No researchers have warned that. Literally none. What I'd be willing to bet happened was that researchers talked about a phenomena of, let's say, like doomsday preppers, or like, I'm forgetting the term right now, for people who want to just ostracize themselves from society because they think society is getting degenerate. They probably made note of a trend that people who had right-leaning views were taking out towards living out in the countryside so they don't have to deal with the degeneracy of city living. So there we go. I think that's pretty reasonable. This group of far right-leaning people is going out to live in the countryside, and others have, and maybe that's a trend. That's not exactly the same thing as if you like going outside, you're a Nazi. Little bit of a difference there. Very shocking conflation of logic. If you fell for that one, you should be a little bit embarrassed.
Do you attend a Christian church?
No, this doesn't make you a far-right extremist. Increases the likelihood of you being one, though. Ha! That's what I'm saying.
Are you part of an exclusively guys club that likes to do guy things?
So, that's cute right there. What are the Proud Boys? The Proud Boys are just a guys club of guys who like to do guy things. Well, no. The Proud Boys are a far-right extremist group. See, this is what really weirds me out. Aren't you people, you fascists, you Nazis, you white supremacists, you people who believe you're the descendants of the glorious Aryan race who want to just rid your country of the degenerate race mixing and what have you, aren't you people supposed to be proud and strong and courageous? Why do you lie? Because this is clearly a lie. Like the lady right here, obviously nobody believes that the Proud Boys are called a Nazi group because it's like dudes doing a dude thing. Nobody believes that. You didn't believe it when you heard it, and she didn't believe it when she said it. So why did you both participate in this game? Who benefits in this shared misunderstanding? My sort of forward proposition here would be that it is meant to reel in people ignorant as to who the Proud Boys really are, who will then think that, oh, they're just being targeted because it's a dude thing. Oh, how dare the FBI, what have you. Or, alternatively, this is a way for you to establish a level of plausible deniability, so that if people talk to you in the future about the Proud Boys or about what it means to be labeled a far-right extremist, you can then go like, they'll do it for anything these days, you know? And they'll say like, oh, wait, the Proud Boys, and then you get to go like, what? Because they're just a dude group? You get to further the lie. But I think the actual reason, and this is my sincere belief, it's because you're very emotional creatures. You like hearing these things. You like hearing that white people are being victimized. You like that outrage, even if the examples being given are nonsense. And you knew this one was nonsense, didn't you? But you like that outrage. You like that feeling of victimization. It gets you good and triggered, and then you get to feel that the tears stream down your cheeks, and you get to feel that that reinvigorated glory, like, one day white people will take back their country. You get to feel that fervor, that zealotry again. So it's a bit of like emotional performativeness. I would just make the argument that if you want to like discuss things, you should do so from a factual framework rather than a feelings-based framework, because it's embarrassing for me when I have to see people who are ostensibly members of the same species making really bad arguments and lying constantly. So why are you staring at me?
Oh, nothing. I was going to ask for Pop-Tarts, but then I realized I want to eat my bagel.
Oh, okay.
Part of a nuclear family? Homeschool your kid.
Part of a nuclear family. I was part of a nuclear family. Again, like, you knew this was a lie, that everyone is far right if they're born into a nuclear family. I had one mom, one dad, 2 kids, both boys, me and my brother. My mom and dad, both white, still together. High income earners, both fairly well-educated people. Pretty much a perfect family. None of us are far right. To my knowledge. I mean, if my parents are, they've kept it from me pretty good. They've been leading me around on that one for quite a while.
It's disgusted by pedophiles? Again?
No, actually. Now, I will say this, the far right does like to jerk itself raw about hating pedophilia. Has anyone seen that lovely tweet going around? The tweet is, it's shot then chaser, and there's 3 images that come after it, okay? And they're all from the same person. They're screen caps of another person's tweet. And the first tweet is one where they slowly, letter by letter, replace the term LGBTQA with child molester. The obvious implication being that they are that gay or trans people or what have you are child molesters. And then 2 more images from the same person. Same person tweeted this out, saying that Soph, that is the at the time 13-year-old anarcho-capitalist girl on YouTube, was super cute and that he would love to date her. And then the third image, that he would totally, this is him saying this, he would totally date her as long as she was a virgin. And I think there was another criteria, that she was a virgin, and no, I think that was just it. That was his criteria. He would fuck the 13-year-old girl as long as she was a virgin. The details of the tweet have left me somewhat, but this is the same person who said LGBTQIAPQ, I know you like to add on the acronyms facetiously, people are child molesters, and then went on to describe how he would date and rape a 13-year-old girl as long as she was a virgin, which makes it that little bit extra, little extra icky right there, that she has to meet this qualification before he will rape her. See, I think the far right is probably, if anything, much more inclined to child molestation and pedophilia and child pornography and the ownership thereof than any other group of people. It's no coincidence that 8chan, a known harbor of far-right political views, is also a harbor of child pornography. See, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that far-right people like to jerk themselves raw about pedophilia and how virtuous they are, trying with Hollywood and Podesta and Hillary Clinton and Pizzagate and all that other conspiratorial horseshit about how the pedophilia is disgusting and these liberal elites, these Jewish elites, they're raping children, we have to stop them. And you use this to feel morally superior to us in spite of you supporting a whole bunch of heinous shit. But you don't really care. It's just a tool. It's, pardon me for using the term, virtue signaling. You're virtue signaling. Because every single time I dive deep into the works of a far-right person, I hear them say something like, and this is always in regards to, like, political violence, I just don't think you should be violent to people because you disagree with them. Like, I don't think all violence is bad. Like, I think all pedophiles should be hung in the street. And invariably, some of these people have had scandals in the past of them soliciting nudes from minors, of course. So this is very embarrassing. Why do you do this? Is it virtue signaling so that you can demonstrate to everyone your moral superiority when you're proposing like a heinous worldview and you are yourself a pretty disgusting, degenerate person who has contributed nothing to society? Or is it because you think you sincerely care and you don't recognize that there's no correlation whatsoever between like left-leaning people or LGBT people and like pedophilia? I'm not entirely sure. In fact, if you could let me know, I'd be really interested in hearing this, because the people who make these arguments, oh, pedophiles should all be shot, are invariably the same ones that I later see criticizing the age consent. The same people who defended Milo Yiannopoulos, who said that being raped by adults should be part of like the growth experience of a young boy, are the same people who defend the people who get caught with child porn in their computers, the same people who frequent 8chan, which is a den of child pornography. It's very strange to me. Very, very strange to me. But if you're ever interested in really combating pedophilia, there are a lot of really interesting, sociologically grounded potential solutions that I'd love to talk with you about sometime. Because I, maybe like you, don't like it when children get raped. So I'm totally open to discussing that, okay? And me not liking pedophiles or child sex offenders doesn't make me a fascist. Funny that.
Children learning about anal sex in the 5th grade, or about them learning
Yeah. Sex ed is just a factually, demonstrably good thing for like young kids. Wait, 5th grade is okay. Wait, hold on. You enter high school at 14, right? So 5th grade would be like 10 or 11. I think that that's a totally fine thing. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? There's never been any scientific evidence to demonstrate it harms children, and there has been scientific evidence to demonstrate that it helps children, lowers pregnancies, and increases sexual education, so less STIs get passed around, so on and so forth. So the only argument I could hear in my mind against sex education for children, even anal sex education, I know that's very degenerate, sodomy, would be if you just feel grossed out by it. But here's my counter argument. I hope you like it. You and I, imagined viewer who likes Red Ice TV, you and I probably both don't like it when children get raped, right? I know I don't. I want to hope you don't as well. Did you know that it has been demonstrated that early comprehensive sex education actually reduces the likelihood of child sexual abuse, because when those children are subjected to sexual abuse, they're educated on what's happening to them, which not only means they're aware of the heinousness of the situation, it also means they have the appropriate language to describe the situation to their friends, their teachers, their family members, their loved ones, and to the police. This has been demonstrated. This is a fact. So I would say if you don't want children to be raped, like I don't, you should actually be in support of comprehensive sex education for children. And a lot of sex, I know you hate it, involves butts these days. I know. In spite of the fact that people have been doing it for literally millennia, but we'll take the blame on this one, I suppose. I know.
About it at all? Are you a housewife who likes to cook and clean? Are you
That doesn't make you a fascist. Just makes you kind of boring, IMO.
against gang members freely walking across the border?
Gang members freely walking across the border. Well, here's a nice conflation. I don't think anyone wants active gang members walking across the border. However, very often racists and fascists, tomato, will use this gang member thing to prohibit the immigration of tens or hundreds of thousands of people from whom a couple gang members stream in. See, that's the problem with immigration as a whole, whether it be with brown people, black people, or white people. If you bring in enough of them, you're statistically likely to get a couple of bad eggs in there. Now, it is thankful, however, that according to all sociological research ever done on this subject, immigrants, legal and illegal immigrants too, commit substantially less crime per capita than the domestic population of the United States of America. That's weird, right? That means that if you import white people, they are more likely to increase the crime rate, to rape, to murder, to steal, to engage in sodomy, than if a brown person were to. So if you wanted to lower the crime rate here in America, the best way to do so probably would be to stop having white babies, because they commit a comparatively higher crime rate, and let the immigrants in, because they have a comparatively lower crime rate, and through their saturation. Somebody in chat has brought up that racists will say that black people commit a disproportionate amount of crime, so such and such. No. This isn't just tied to overall rate of committing crime, meaning that the higher rate of black people committing crime drags it down. This is related to each demographic's individual likelihood of committing a crime, meaning that immigrant brown people, first-generation immigrants, whether they be legal or illegal, commit less crime per capita than domestic white people. You pearly white people, you smooth white people, you too are degenerate and are causing crimes, and I would like you to stop.
Do you question everything you're told to believe by the mainstream media?
You are fake news.
Sir, can you stay categorical?
Especially if you question things like slavery, colonialism, and anything else in the history books.
Well, hold on. That was a bit of a conflation right there. See, it's cool to doubt the mainstream media. You just have to have a good reason. You can't just throw out information because you don't like it, like a baby having a tantrum. But then you just said disagreeing with things like slavery and colonialism. That's not media, that's academia. So while I would say it's okay to distrust media because media is corporate run that operates on a for-profit basis, academia doesn't. Academia is developed in the pursuit of truth, and over the past several centuries since the Enlightenment, we've actually made remarkable strides in, so to speak, purifying academia of foreign influences that lessen the truthfulness of statements made within there. So yeah, if you have a problem with academic consensus on some issues, and the issues that you're especially focused on are things like slavery and colonialism, those are the things that you take particular issue with, yeah, you might be a far-right extremist. Because at that point, you're just denying factual information to support a worldview of a very feeling-based worldview, which promotes far-right values.
If you defend the right of free speech.
No, there's nothing wrong with free speech. I love free speech. I advocate for it pretty fastidiously, which is why I recognize that there are some elements of society that have a chilling effect on free speech. And I also recognize that certain groups of people, should they ever come to power, see, I'm winking at you here because I'm referring to you, who don't actually care about free speech, if they ever achieved power, would remove free speech. This is the tolerance paradox right here, that in order for tolerance to thrive conceptually, you must exclude the intolerant, because the intolerant, should they ever attain power within the framework of a tolerant system, will then remove tolerance. Thus, in a tolerant society, there is one group against which you must be intolerant. And I would say that you, dear fascist, dear Nazi, fall within that purview because you claim to love freedom of speech, but you are talking about far-right conspiratorial worldviews in which you disagree with consensus being made by government, media, financial institutions, and by academic research. You are propositioning a political system which systemically removes human rights from certain groups of people, racial minorities, trans people, and what have you. And you are, let's be real here, you don't care about freedom of speech. Are you really saying that in your far-right ethno-state paradise that you would allow the freedom of protest, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, and the freedom of the press for black activists and trans people? No. No, of course not. Don't be silly. Don't be ridiculous. No, you wouldn't. You've talked about deporting people whose skin color you don't like. You obviously don't care about things like freedom of speech. So don't pretend. I care about freedom of speech, with the very slight exception of people who, if they attain power, will strip it from everyone. So I'm sorry to catch you up in that.
Do you see how hate speech is really totalitarian thought control?
That's a bit of a loaded question. It's not. That what she said isn't true. It's not totalitarian thought control. It just means that if you say things that are hateful, it's hate speech and people will dislike you for it. Do you have a problem with people criticizing you for your values? Why do you have such a problem with hate speech? Also, I wouldn't bring up Orwell here. Orwell was a socialist. So I like a real, not like a national socialist, not like one of those guys, like an actual full-on anti-Nazi, anti-authoritarian socialist who would have, in this day and age, spent every bit as much time critiquing you people as he did the authoritarian governments of his time.
If you plainly see that people aren't created equal.
Well, there we go. Fascinating. So what do you mean by this, not created equal? So right there, you have sort of, is it fair to call you anti-American? Because the whole created equal thing is kind of like a core American principle, both philosophically and legally. So is it fair for me to say you're an enemy of America? Because earlier you said there are people who hate their country and that's bad or extreme or whatever. But you just expressed antipathy towards one of the core founding principles of the country. So a little bit of hypocrisy right there, you anti-American scum. So you've rejected Enlightenment values of equality and what have you, and that's cool and great. Why hang on to free speech then? Like freedom of speech hasn't been around forever. This is an Enlightenment principle tied to freedom of expression and pretty intrinsically to, equality of birth. Why hold on to free speech but not hold on to the concept of universal egalitarianism? Is it because you can use free speech to achieve a political end, but you can't do the same with egalitarianism? The answer is yes. I don't need to wait on your answer right there. Also, this is a nothing statement, you see, in regards to not all people are created equal. Of course, in the superficial sense, not all people are created equal. Like, my girlfriend has big tits, and I've got, well, again, you fascists are very mean to me, so I'm going to preempt the comments and say I've got smaller tits than she does. So obviously, how could we have been created equally? There are different titty sizes. Well, when people say everyone is created equal, what they mean by that is that fundamentally everyone should be endowed with the same political and social rights, that there are inalienable rights intrinsic to our birth, regardless of our race, our color, our creed, our gender, our national origin, which afford us certain protections. So again, nobody's saying everyone is literally identical in every way. We're simply saying that everyone should be afforded the same rights, which you disagree with. So just
laugh at white privilege and the invisible knapsack nonsense.
White
I don't want a what knapsack?
privilege, unpacking the invisible knapsack.
LOL.
White.
Man, this mix of like weirdly professional newscast editing with Fortnite. Man, trying to strike that perfect balance of sounding like an authoritative voice on social issues while appealing to the literal children you're trying to rope into white nationalism with this. I see what you're on with. Also, I don't know what about this knapsack nonsense. I don't know why you would get hyper fixated on the terminology one speaker uses. That's a little bit weird. But in regards to white privilege, I mean, yeah, it's pretty factual sociologically. If you feel it doesn't exist, then I'd be willing to have a discussion with you on it, but you'd lose. You can't win that discussion. Every point she's made, by the way, here, this isn't just me speaking from some ivory tower of YouTube criticism where no one can touch what I say and I'm just saying things and she's just saying things. No, if you disagree with what I'm saying here, I encourage you, spam me on Twitter or something. Come onto my stream, because every single one of these points I will beat you on. You're not just like, we don't just disagree opinion-wise, you're factually wrong on almost everything that has been said here. There are obviously some plainly factual statements here. But for the solid 95%, you're just wrong. And you'll lose in a discussion with me. So I encourage you, please. I don't have time for all of you to come on. Maybe elect a representative. That would require believing in democracy, though.
Women are oppressive to work with.
If you're white
Women are oppressed. I don't know who these random people are.
and don't hate yourself, or
I'm white and don't hate myself, and I'm not a fascist.
if you're white, straight, and Southern.
I just want to take time to say thank you for my family.
Shake and bake.
Dear Lord Baby Jesus, we also thank you for my wife's father, Chip. We hope that you can use your baby Jesus powers to heal him and his horrible leg. And it smells terrible, and the dogs are always bothering
What is the point
with
of
it.
this?
Are you white?
Okay. So, all right, cool. So I'm white and not ashamed of myself at all. I mean, I've literally said the N-word with the hard R on this channel. I frequently yell at black people who I disagree with. I have had people come up to me and say I should do such and such because of my white privilege, and I have told them to fuck off. I am obviously not ashamed of my whiteness or bitter or anything else like that. But I do like how when she said, if you're white and not ashamed of yourself, she flashed a little article headline which said that the it's okay to be white and okay sign stuff are related to white supremacy, which they are, obviously. All of the people saying the it's okay to be white thing and meme, all of you are white supremacists. You're not fooling me. It's obvious. This isn't some, nobody believed it wasn't okay to be white. This was a way of codifying your belief in white supremacy. A counter-protest, in essence, to Black Lives Matter's assertions that they should be treated equally. Well, that was more of an All Lives Matter thing, but it's all very complicated, and it all ties in together. It all ties in with one another. So, you're not fooling me, mate. The it's okay to be white thing, it's a Nazi meme. Why are you so cowardly? Why do you hide behind dog whistles? Why not just come out and openly say it? Red Ice TV is a Nazi channel. We've gotten the Jewish question shit. They got the fucking Freemason. They got the menorah on there, so we've got that. We've got the race and IQ, racial differences, white supremacy, anti-immigration, white ethno-state, having white babies, demographic replacement, white genocide. It's all there. And anyone even remotely familiar with the terminology is 100% aware with what's going on here. So why lie? You disgrace your Aryan ancestors. Do you think your Nordic Viking great times 20 ancestors would be looking at you proudly, you namby-pamby fucking bitches who are afraid to even openly express your own values? Jesus Christ, the way you hide, the way you play. There were Jews in Poland back during the fucking 30s and 40s who were more open and brave and proud about their personal values, in their case being Judaism, under the Nazi regime than you are today in a free society where you're freely allowed to express all of these values completely legally as long as you don't go ahead and commit a terrorist attack, which you people seem to keep doing. It's just pathetic. You're really sad. You make me, you post cringe. You make me cringe.
White and unaffected by white guilt. Do you enjoy laughing at
As I said, by the way, I've never experienced white guilt in my entire life. I'm not a guilty person in any way, shape, or form. I don't respect this feeling that individuals should feel guilty over systemic inequalities that they did not personally and deliberately contribute to. So, still not a fascist.
SJW fails compilations? Are you...
Well, there is a lot of conflation between the whole laughing at SJW circle and the whole white nationalist circle. But again, no, doesn't make you a fascist.
So bored of the words racist and Nazi and white supremacist.
I'm sorry you're bored of them, you entitled fucking millennial snowflake. I'm sorry that language isn't excited for you. What do you need? White supremacizzle? What do you need? What can we do? I'm sorry, we'll cater to you. What language would we like to use for Nazis, which you are? What would you like? What do you feel like would feel the best on you? Like a nice little outfit, like a poofy winter coat. What would be the comfiest? Identitarian? Is that okay? No. What about white person who isn't afraid? And that'll be your whole title. It'll be, I'm a white person who isn't afraid, and you want to genocide the Jews or whatever. What do we need to do for you? I'm sorry if you're bored of them. Stop. Maybe you wouldn't hear the term so often if you weren't the things the terms were describing. I've got it. That's a great idea. Most people in their day-to-day lives don't actually hear those words that often unless they're engaged in hardcore politics, right? And not just politics, but the fringes of politics. The way I am, or the way you are. By watching this video, you're clearly of some investment in fringe politics. So, maybe stop? You can stop being a Nazi. Just like that. Jews don't run the world. Yeah, they've done pretty well for themselves. Yeah, some people who have Jewish ethnic background, whatever that means, control some banking positions. It's never been demonstrated that there's a global conspiracy where they enact revenge against the Goyim by bringing in brown people to replace the whites. It's never been proven. It's just a feeling you have. And it's one of many such anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that date back hundreds or even thousands of years in Europe. So you're just kind of playing the same old story. It's nothing really that impressive about it. Just cut it out. Science has never affirmed the existence of inherent intelligence differences between different racial groups. It's never done so. So stop believing that it has. Just stop being a Nazi. It's gonna be okay. If you can stop being a Nazi, I'll stop calling you one. And then you don't have to be bored of that word anymore.
Do you question the word refugee and migrant or child refugees who look 35?
This is super loaded. What is this, like 1 or 2 instances of people who look young but aren't or something? They looked older because war has toughened them up. Aged by conflict. The fastest 12-year-old is Sweden.
And migrant or...
So this kid down here in the bottom center, I don't know if they're 12 or not. I don't know, and I don't really care. There are always going to be some bureaucratic mix-ups when you have a flood of refugees coming into a continent. That kid looks pretty short. I mean, he's the same height, more or less, as the 2 people he's standing next to, and I assume that they're competing in the same age group. I don't know. I see a bit of a mustache. I had a bit of facial hair at 12, and I'm not even dark-skinned. Like, some Mexican or, like, Arabic, like, Persians can get facial hair really fucking early. And, I mean, aren't these refugees from Syria? I don't know. But, again, this is all dog whistling. You don't actually care about the maybe 1 or 2 or 3 cases where someone was like, oh, this is a kid, but they were a 30-year-old dude. You don't care about that. What you care about is using a couple one-off examples to reinforce the belief system you actually have, which is that these refugees are disgusting liars who prey upon their host country, and you want to get them the fuck out of Europe. You just say it. Just say it, dude. Why you gotta lie?
Child refugees who look 35? Do you talk about globalist elites, bankers, corrupt politicians, and NGOs? Do you
I'm not gonna lie. Every person I've ever heard talking about that wasn't from a leftist framework ended up being a Nazi. I'm just gonna be honest. Yes. But if your problem is with, like, the global capitalist elite, you can do that in a way that isn't anti-Semitic. We talked about this in my video with Sloopy, my debate with Sloopy, right? I talked with him and I said, like, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a leftist. I don't give a fuck about these, like, global, like, economic elites. And then he said, like, whoa, wouldn't want to talk about those global elites, buddy. Like, obviously, he was the connection here being made. He thought it was funny that I did the dog whistle. But that's the thing, though. I wasn't doing the dog whistle. I was actually talking about global economic elites because I'm not a Jewish questioner. So when I do it, it's not a dog whistle. And you can do it too without it being a dog whistle. If I see someone talking about, like, globalist economic elite and I see them and I like, oh, okay, all right, cool, fuck those guys. But if I do that and then I look at your Twitter profile page and you have the Kekistani flag as your thing and you're constantly retweeting, like, Lauren Southern, God rest her soul, and like fucking Lauren Southern and other far-right white nationalists talking about, like, deporting immigrants and stuff, then yeah, I think it's going to take on a different connotation. Most of you people aren't even that subtle. You're very subtle in these videos, but in the Twitter profiles, you're constantly doing the little echo shit and saying goyim and shekels and such and other very cringy 4chan things like that, which is great and fun, obviously.
despise socialism. Talk about the Constitution.
Wait, you already did this. You already said that if people dislike communism, that makes them far right. You can't do that again. You're just padding for time now. You already did that with communism. You can't do that again with socialism. I know they're different things, but it's not like anyone watching this video fucking cares about the difference between socialism and communism. And also, you shouldn't talk about the Constitution when you disagree with many of its tenets and amendments, buddy. So,
do you think the Civil War wasn't about slavery?
Well, if you do believe that, you're wrong. It's just historical consensus. It was. Again, I don't understand the cowardice. So I get it. You think white people are better. Fuck black people. Why not just say the Confederacy revolted over slavery, which they did, and they were right to do so? Why not just bite that bullet? Just like, why not be consistent and honest? Because every historian and every person who has any understanding whatsoever of the Civil War knows that it was about slavery. The fucking seceding states wrote into their states' constitutions that they were revolting for slavery. They wrote it in their own fucking constitutions. And we declare this the state of Texas, the due home of white Americans, and recognize the God-given right to engage in slavery against the colored folk, or so on and such forth. Why lie? Just bite the bullet. God, you people are such babies.
Do you think the South has a culture?
Yeah, the South has a culture. It's just kind of shit. Also, again,
do you think the Civil War
Wait,
wasn't about slavery? Do you think the South...
This is a really, really fun way of knowing that you're dealing with a bad faith actor. Everything this woman says is not backed up by the headline she says. Nobody says the South doesn't have a culture, and nobody says you're racist to believe the South does have a culture. The South obviously has a culture, but the article isn't about Southern culture. The article is about the Confederate battle flag, the flag of a traitorous secessionist group that broke off from America because they wanted slaves so badly, and they fired Forrest at Fort Sumter. They started the war, so they were wrong on every conceivable level. It's about their battle flag, often used as, a racist sort of piece of memorabilia, and whether or not that in and of itself is prejudiced, which the obvious answer is yes, of course it is, for the same reasons that the Nazi flag would be considered prejudiced in Germany. Reconstruction did not go even close to far enough. But again, everything this woman says, there's a disconnect between what she says and the article that she's showing. It's very interesting.
South has a culture? Do you talk about how in the height of American slavery, only 6% of Southerners had slaves?
This is actually, this is nice. Most of the time, the things she says are like tricksy little word games. This is factually incorrect. Here we go. I've been here before. History.com, 5 myths about slavery. See, because this is a common talking point, because people like you... Oh, no. Do I really have to disable my ad block? Oh, wait. Oh, no. Delightful. This is a common talking point, because people like you are lying about it constantly. So here we go. Look, myth number 2. The South seceded from the Union over the issue of states' rights, not slavery. But I forgot. Before we must continue, we have to find out, is the owner of the History Channel a Jew? See, it's very important. Because I know anything that I say is, hold on. A&E Networks. Let's find out about the CEO. Nancy Dubuc. Let's find out. Raised in Rhode Island, Boston Universities. Wow, this lady's really young. Oh, no, wait, no, she isn't. Born 1968. Sorry, I misread. Wait, it says she was born 1968/1969? What, do you not know? Let's see. Raised in Boston, directness, strong opinions as a mother. Let's see. She married Michael Rashid Kizibash, a copy editor, in a Roman Catholic ceremony. Nice. So there we go. I have met you halfway. I have determined that the corporation that owns the history.com website, and among many other things, obviously, I have determined that they are not part of the global Jewish elite. So now you will have to listen to me. So here is the states' rights thing. Again, it was a slavery war. It was a war about slavery. And here we go. Myth number 3, the reason why we came here. Only a small percentage of Southerners owned slaves. Closely related to myth number 2. The idea that the vast majority of Confederate soldiers were men of modest means, rather than large plantation owners, is usually used to reinforce the contention that the South wouldn't have gone to war to protect slavery. The 1860 census shows that in the states that would soon secede from the Union, an average of more than 32% of white families owned slaves. A third, nearly a third, of people owned humans. That's a lot. I would go so far as to say that most slave societies in the past, prior to America, back hundreds, thousands of years ago, I would be willing to bet the vast majority of them didn't have a level of slave ownership saturation that high. So it's just interesting that you would say that bald-faced outright lie in your video. You probably have like a super elite, like anti-globalist source that you use, though, obviously one that's protected from the influence of the Jewish elite. So I'll forgive you for let's see, if you include the white people in the North, and I don't know why you would include the white people in the North when we're referring to states that had legal slavery. Can we wait, hold on, actually, can we find this website? Hold on. Blacks were never close to a majority in America, so it's mathematically impossible for most whites to have owned black slaves. That sounds like a very stupid statement. Here, hold on. Blacks were never close to a majority in America, so it's mathematically impossible the majority of... Let me make sure that I'm getting this all correctly. Oh. Impossible for most whites to have owned. Impossible for most whites to have owned slaves. So, hey kids, it's time on Vice of all places. I'll admit I didn't expect that. Time for some dumb myths and smart facts about slavery. So let's see. So this is, if you're a typical Vice reader, either way, you're very young and your mind and sexuality are easily molded by bad people who want to hurt you. Okay. So this is an article from 2005 that opens by saying that typical Vice readers are being lied to, and that there are bad people in the educational system that are being forced by a lot of bad people in the financial world to tell you a lot of bad facts about history. This is especially true if you're a white school kid? Wow. This is a Nazi Vice op-ed. How did this stay up on their site? So her citation was an op-ed from 14 years ago from somebody who is themselves a Nazi. You're pretty sure this is satire? I don't think it is. Dumb myth, smart fact. Everything here looks exactly like Nazi talking points. We can look over it, actually. Hold on. I don't want to be like a fool. No, Jim Goad goes more into detail in his book, The Redneck Manifesto. I don't think this is ironic, my dudes. Hold on. Eat Vegemite? All your heroes are dying. Skinheads against white people. Hold on. This is juicy.
Yeah, somebody makes a point. We didn't have irony like this in the 2000s.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, irony didn't exist like this 14 years ago. American author and publisher, Goad co-authored and published the zine Answer Me and the Redneck Manifesto. Political views. Goad is referred to as the godfather of the New Right and is associated with the alt-right movement, with Proud Boys figure Gavin McInnes citing him as one of his favorite writers. So, bazinga, obviously. So that's what I call a good source. If you want to talk about slavery, don't talk about historical consensus or engage with academia. Instead, cite one paragraph from a Vice op-ed that received no traction at the time and was written by a person who would later come to be referred to as the godfather of far-right extremism, which is the thing you are trying to say is an overblown phenomena, or it's over, I suppose, prescribed here in America. Wow, that is some really dumb hypocrisy. Are there any... Wait, in YouTube chat, are there any Nazis watching right now? Does it make you uncomfortable how easy it was to pick apart that hypocrisy? Does it, like, anywhere? Do you think maybe, like, if only I was talking to Vosh right now, I could untie this knot, I could mend this kerfluffle? Is that what you're thinking? I'm just wondering. Uh-huh. Why?
Because I just want you to know that two chuds in call-in chat are currently talking about how there are literal brain size differences in the races, and it's just really good.
Oh, good. Apparently there are people discussing brain size differences in my viewer call-in stream. That's good. I'm glad we have the best of the best. Truly.
Call-in's chat.
The call-in chat, yeah. The cream of the crop coming up to talk with me after I'm done with this video.
Don't care to worry about LGBTQ and other said victim groups?
Wait, what was that? She enunciated it so strange.
Don't care to worry about
Don't care to worry about? What does that mean? Like you don't care about? What do you mean don't care to worry about? That's just a really weird phrasing. Don't care to worry about the existence of a group of people. I don't know. Wouldn't you just say you don't care about a group of people?
LGBTQ and other said victim groups?
Other said victim groups. That's funny, concerning that this entire video is designed to reinforce a narrative where you all perpetuate a feeling of victimization to an unseen and non-existent sort of global conspiracy. So that's cute. For two, it's not really a victim group. I mean, if you're gay, you're gay. That's just sort of how it is. If you're trans, you're trans. It's not really a victim group. It's just a group of people who are often victimized, admittedly, by people like you, but they're not, it's not a victim group.
You just don't care about Muslims, Jews, Israel, and their foreign wars.
What? I mean, yeah, sure. If you don't, like, care about foreign wars between, yeah, sure. No, that's fine. Cool. If you specifically don't care about Jews or brown people or Muslims or whatever, though, yeah, I'd say that's pretty fucking racist.
Why do we spend so much money on Israel? I've often heard people make this complaint. The truth is, we don't spend enough. We should spend more.
If you just don't...
It's cute. See, it's cute there. Yeah, and this is funny. See, remember, you know how we watch PragerU and we think, wow, these people are Nazis? Actual Nazis look at PragerU and seethe at how it's being controlled by the Jewish elite. It is a little bit amusing, isn't it? How like it's like there's always a bigger fish, there's always a more racist fish.
Don't think about anti-Semitism or the Holocaust.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I missed that.
If you just don't think about anti-Semitism or the Holocaust.
Is that something people are saying? That if you don't think about anti-Semitism or the Holocaust every day, that you're a fascist? Because the article you've shown here doesn't even say that. It literally just says one particular person thinks about it every single day. Maybe the person who thinks about it every single day is a Holocaust survivor. I think that'd be pretty reasonable. If I was put into like a literal death camp for several years and then got to live out the rest of my life, I would probably find myself revisiting those memories pretty often. Though, and I have to say, something tells me you actually do think about anti-Semitism and the Holocaust pretty often. I've just got a sneaking suspicion that not a day goes by without the people who made this video and the people who watch it thinking about Jews. Just a feeling I've got.
If you don't like Islam or Judaism.
I hate Islam and Judaism. That's totally fine. As long as you also hate Christianity. But something tells me you don't. If you just hate all religion, that's fine. But if there's something with those two in particular, yeah, I'd say that's a problem.
Are you against America invading the world to bring liberal democracy?
Did we finally find a point that we agree on? Unironically, did we finally find a point that we agree on? The one saving grace. Sometimes Nazis pretend to be non-interventionalist, even though we all know they would be engaging in foreign wars all the time if they got the opportunity. But sometimes they like to pretend they're non-interventionalist. And this alone, this is the one point we're going to unironically agree on.
My allegiance is to democracy!
Have you ever talked about the blatant theft and ongoing murder of white farmers in South Africa?
Again, that's cute. Listen to the emotional language. Can we all just take a moment in chat to appreciate how stupid a person would have to be to fall for language this obviously manipulative? Have you might be a fascist, you've ever thought about the ongoing slaughter of beautiful white babies? I've talked to some people from South Africa. They've spoken to me because I wanted to know more about this issue. And I gotta say, much like the other 10,000 statements in this video, this one is also a lie. It's incredible. You lie all the time. So it's not very coincidental when this also is a lie. There's trouble going on in South Africa, unquestionably. But this narrative that there's like a black uprising where there's genocide being committed against white people, it's factually incorrect. It's just not true. Again, it's just you lying. Very cowardly.
Do you want to live in a nice white neighborhood with other nice white people?
Oh, yeah. Wait, yeah, no. Yeah, easy. Yeah. If your thought process is, I want to live in a nice white neighborhood, yeah, I would say that makes you far right. Yeah, I'm cool saying that. Also, amazing! Amazing!
Or are you a non-white and against whites becoming a minority in their countries because you too like to live in a nice white neighborhood?
Standing for Jesse Lee Peterson. That's about the intellectual level we're getting in this video, and a reaffirmation of the fact that Jesse Lee Peterson collaborates with Nazi circles, which it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who's watched any of his content. Amazing! That's the intellectual level we're operating on. Underneath the fancy editing and the nice script writing and the nice camera and the pretty blonde bitch and so on and such forth, behind all of that, and it's a very thin layer you have to look behind, there is the exact same level of myopy and stupidity and unintrospectiveness that plagues Jesse Lee Peterson's brain like a hive of wasps inside of a tree canal. That's what's going on here. That's the level we're operating on. Just a little bit of a paint dressing. But you know what they say? Scratch a Nazi, and they say, amazing! Because it was Jesse Lee Peterson the entire time.
Are you against globalists turning the West into a multicultural country for everyone, united by a shopping mall?
Well, there are several parts to that statement. If you have a problem with global capitalism being the defining characteristics which organize people's lives, I would say that's totally fine. If you have a problem with diversity, I would say that's not fine. See, look, you snuck in multiple statements there, but using my very large Aryan brain, I have picked them apart and separated the objectionable from the unobjectionable. See, I'm very clever in this respect.
If you don't want the entire West and really the entire world to be exactly the same in every way.
So again, that's cute. The article was just about mixed race people being the future, which they are, just looking at current trends. And she said, are you opposed to people being the same in every way? Implying that there wouldn't still be a vast, a wide berth of diversity across the entire planet, even if most people were mixed race. So I would say yes. If you're against race mixing, which is what you just said right there, thank you, yeah, that would make you a Nazi. Or, well, it's a characteristic of being a Nazi. That would be a far-right extremist position. Someone tell Vosh the shopping mall bit is a dog whistle and a shout out to Richard Spencer. Oh, I'm sure this video has 100 dog whistles. that I wasn't able to catch because I am not a Nazi and thus not the dog. But that's fine. We still know what's going on here.
Yeah, me too. The next time a leftist or anyone else...
Oh, we reached the conclusion. God willing. God, it's been like 2 hours. It's two fucking hours. We finally reached the end of this fucking list, in which literally every point contained a lie or something like objectively far right, except for the foreign war interventionism stuff, the one point with which I agreed with her. Funny how the only point in which she wasn't actively dishonest was the point which not only isn't far right, but also isn't objectionable to most decent people. It's weird how that was the only time she was comfortable being honest. It's almost like Nazis always lie.
Else charges you for being a far-right extremist, laugh in their face and say, thank you, because it means you are a healthy human being living in the real world. You don't need to defend common sense, truth, and Mother Nature. It is they who must be charged for being maniacs trying to destroy everything natural and consistent on planet Earth.
So that's a lot of feelings, I guess. So by lying about what it means to believe in a bunch of things and then believing all of them actually makes you a good, healthy person. You are such and such, you're a fascist, but you're proud. And you're standing up in the face of common sense, Mother Nature, and truth. So let's go over this. Common sense is a thought-terminating cliche. There's data and there's not data. There are facts and there aren't facts. You support your argument or you don't support your argument. There's no such thing. Common sense? It means nothing. Anyone who believes that common sense constitutes an argument should be shown the door. Because it's a thought-terminating cliche. It is very deliberately meant to keep people from thinking, oh, don't question this, don't question that. It's common sense. We aren't beholden to facts in this respect. We simply respect tradition. So that's cool. In regards to standing up for truth, you have lied constantly in this video. Some of them demonstrable lies, like factual lies that are easily fact-checked, and many of them lies of omission, but most of them just lies a difference between what you're saying and what you mean. Thankfully, this video, because it's for Nazis, is meant to appeal to stupid people, so it needs to be very overt with its dog whistles. The ideal Nazi dog whistle would be one, or dog whistle Nazi video, would be one in which I am not capable of identifying it as a Nazi video. It was not hard this time. So, if you claim to stand up for truth, I ask you, and please, I'm curious, why lie constantly, all the time, in every single sentence out of your mouth? And, furthermore, why are all of the positions you hold, which have some empirical basis, why are all of them factually incorrect? Like literally everything that you believe concerning like statistics and facts and what have you, like it's not backed up by economic or anthropological or historical or biological consensus. So I don't know what truth you're defending. It sounds like you're defending your feelings, actually. You feel strongly about these things. And again, Mother Nature, no, naturalistic argument is a fallacy. Literally nobody cares. It's not an argument, bro. I'm sorry.
That which always has and will exist. Nature didn't screw up. It is they trying to pervert normal impulses.
Wait, nature didn't screw up. Okay, nature, again, this is a weird naturalistic. Nature doesn't screw up. Nature doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything right and it doesn't do anything wrong because nature doesn't have a goal. The only way in which nature affects our lives is because there are certain naturalistic impulses we have which are reaffirmed by evolutionary processes, which are just a matter of genetic misprints when encoding DNA from one parent onto a child. That's it. There's no motive here. The fucking motive. Mother Nature got it right. When Mother Nature ordained that people lived in like with pretty decent harmony, at least concerning our modern interpretation of race, for a really long time, and then only 400 years ago did people like adopt the currently accepted racial zeitgeist. Was that it? Did nature start 400 years ago? Because modern race understanding, like the idea white better than black, what have you, all of this came during and post the transatlantic slave trade. There are historical documents which verify this. Before that point, completely different conception of race. It would be nonsensical to you. It wouldn't make sense to you or to me. Because it's a cultural thing, not a biological thing. This is also a fact. So the Mother Nature argument is just a little bit weird when you're not only is it a fallacy, but what you're arguing for isn't even, like, natural. It's just cultural, and it's not existed for very long.
As something incorrect. Well, good luck with that.
Nice, we did it. All right, that was a lot of cool Nazi shit. The future is the past. That's what I'm saying. I love it. Really, though, to let myself be a little bit more like me for a moment, though, because as you could tell, I was trying to make that video for people who disagree with me. These people are horrific. They're disgusting, vile, degenerate scumfucks who don't deserve to exist. And everyone who watched this video and thought, yes, these points are valid, likewise, do not deserve to exist. They really are. Whatever classification I have for a human being, whatever makes us us, not just biologically, but in a cultural sense, they fall below that purview. So that's cool and great, and I'm glad we all had a good time.